Hello, this is audition coach Jessica Neighbor, and I want to go into the Parents Corner and talk to you parents of performers for a moment, just to support you a little bit in your role, because I realize that sometimes a parent performer role is a confusing one, and it's hard to know if you've crossed a boundary, how to best support your growing performer, and how to keep everything feeling like it's in balance with one another. So one thing I want to remind you about is that you are probably, if you're watching this, doing an amazing job. It means that you're really looking for ways to support your performer, that you recognize that they have talent, you recognize that they're really drawn to performing, and you want to support them. And that's why I call you the lead in their supporting cast. They are the rising star, but we know that every rising star talent needs a team, needs a full cast to kind of boost them up. And so your role in their cast is the support role. And we know that that can mean financially, we know that that can mean emotionally, and we know that that also just means you cheering them on from the sidelines and going to their shows and getting everyone else in your family and all your friends to show up and go to their shows and just cheer them on no matter what. So think about all of those different pieces that you're doing, and you can see that sometimes the role can get a little confusing. Especially when it comes to, say, the financial piece, and you're, investing in private coaching or private lessons or paying for them to be in plays, and then you feel like maybe they're slacking off in their practice. How do you have a conversation with them where you're still trying to support them, but you're also trying to kind of like keep an expectation, going that, hey, we're investing and we expect you to do the same. So I guess I would like to say a few key rules for you to try to follow. I'm not guaranteeing you that this is going to help in every regard, but I think these are some key things that can help you to really have, smooth-ish sailing with your performer, young performer. I will say that in my coaching, I have ongoing conversations with the parents, and I talk to them as much as I do sometimes their students, just to kind of keep them in check and to keep them informed about what's developing in their lessons, and so that I can also support the parent for how they can best support their kid. All right, so one big thing that I always try to emphasize to parents, and I know you know this in your heart of your hearts, but it's really easy to cross this line, is you are not their talent cast. You are not their director or their coach or their teacher. Even if you are a performer, I think it's a very dangerous thing to actually teach your own child how to perform. So I think it's best if you let other people coach and direct your child, and you remind yourself that you are the supportive cast. You have many a role to fill, but really at the end of the day, your role is to not ask them or tell them about their actual performance skills and talents. Leave that to the other people. It's gonna just make your relationship with your performer that much better. Another key thing is, as far as practice is concerned, I know that I really do appreciate parents that actually help hold their children accountable. Sometimes in the performing arts, practice can be a little tricky because a lot of performers who are interested in the performing arts love to practice with other people at, like, say, play rehearsals or in a band setting. But you have to remember that you also should be putting in some of that solo practice time on your own to memorize your lines or to go over your songs, or if you're doing some vocal coaching, to kind of do your warm-ups and your vocal exercises. Those aren't always the most electric, exciting practices to do, but they pay off for you when it comes time to perform because you'll feel the difference in what you can do. So doing consistent practice at home is crucial. So parents, the best thing that you can do is to try to kind of help carve out a time and a place for them to practice, and then to help remind and reinforce that practice time. You want to keep it light, you want to keep it fun, you don't want to turn it into yet another obligatory homework assignment. But at the same time, if you are investing in private performance coaching, I get it. You want them to be doing the material at home, and so does their coach or director. So giving them that encouragement and that place and that structure to do it is going to help. So what I'd say is help with them creating a routine. If they're a morning person, carve out 10 minutes in the morning. If they're a night owl, carve out 10 or 15 minutes. Make it very manageable at the beginning, and then build on that as time goes on, and have them be working on their material in that time. Even if they resist, just carve it out and say, this is our agreement. If I'm investing, I need to see you investing as well, and leave it at that. If they give you a lot of grief about it, I would talk to the director or the coach and have them back you up. You don't want to turn it into a battle of the wills just between you and your child. That's not fair. And that's, again, not really your job at the end of the day. The other piece that I think is really, really important is the emotional piece. And this one I feel like is probably going to be the most improvisational part of your job in supporting your performer child. We also know that in general, just being a parent is improv. No one really gave us a guidebook. So when your child is going to inevitably have their ups and downs in their performances, you are going to be there for them. And the first biggest thing I'd recommend you to do is listen. It's so easy for us to want to share our experiences, and for us to want to take care of them and to protect them. But listen. I know a lot of parents come to me and say, I'm really worried about my child auditioning. I'm worried about them getting rejected. I'm worried about the competitiveness. I don't even like that part of performing, and I feel very protective. Well, you should. And I think that's good for you to recognize that part in performance that can be really difficult. But you want to show and model for your child that they can get through these things, that it's another part of it, and that they can handle it, and that you're there for them to turn to when they are in a time of need. Now, what's going to get confusing is if they're, say, in a play, or they're in a production, or they're in a band and they're playing out, they're going to have different days. And what worked yesterday isn't going to work today. Maybe they were feeling a little more insecure yesterday, and they were kind of, hinting for you to kind of pump them up and fill them up and, reflect back that they really are actually good, because maybe they just started feeling really insecure. But maybe today they woke up feeling good. They woke up feeling great. And they don't want you to reassure them in the same way. Maybe they just want you to kind of step back and give them a little nod. There's going to be days where they don't want you to say anything at all. And this can be very hard because their moods are going to be shifting, and then you're going to try to be, helping support that. And I think it's perfectly fine to say, hey, I'm your parent, and I am here to be your supporting cast in your performance journey. But I need you to communicate with me what you need from me right now. Do you need some feedback and support from me? Do you want me to back off? I can't read your mind. I need you to tell me what you need. So having that ongoing dialogue with them is going to also wake them up to actually realize, well, oh gosh, what is going on for me right now? Because we know that children definitely project what's going on for them onto their parents. And the last thing we want is for you to just be like carrying everything and carrying the weight of what they're going through. You don't need to do that. That's not your job. So these are a few pointers for you to just start to work on the communication with your child. I think it's really helpful to talk to other people who are involved in the performing arts, see what's worked for them and their families. I think if you're working with coaches and directors and teachers, you should try to have a really nice, close relationship with them as well. It really does take a team. It really does take a village. It really does take a whole cast. And just know that, you're putting in the effort and you're going to find your way, as long as you can just recognize that that relationship is ever shifting and ever developing and ever evolving as your child and as you do through your life journey together.